Imagine a life where your morning commute is a walk to your private dock, and your weekend plans involve rubbing shoulders with celebrities at a members-only country club. This isn't a fantasy. This is everyday life in Tennessee's wealthiest zip codes. From the city between the lakes to the horse farms of Williamson County, we're taking you inside the gates to see how the other half lives. Welcome to our luxury tour of Tennessee. Starting with number 10, here's what wealth actually looks like when it stops performing. Number 10, Tellico Village. Tellico Village has a median home price of around $660,000. That's the floor for this list. And before you think that sounds reasonable, understand something. Tellico Village isn't a town. It's a gated lake community in eastern Tennessee that operates like a private club that happens to have houses in it. 3 golf courses, private marinas with boat slips you can't just rent, dining clubs where membership matters more than your credit card. Everything here was designed, not developed. Every street name comes from Cherokee words. Every neighborhood has its own identity and standards. So, here's the problem with that $660,000 number. It makes Tellico Village look accessible, like it's the entry point for wealth in Tennessee. Except you don't just buy into Tellico Village. You apply. The Property Owners Association doesn't just collect dues. It makes decisions about who belongs. Think about what that means. You can show up with $660,000 cash and still get told no. Not because you can't afford it, because you don't fit. So when people ask how the rich live in Tennessee, Tellico Village answers with a question. What kind of rich are you? Because the wrong kind doesn't get past the gate. Number 9. Signal Mountain. Signal Mountain has a median home price of around $785,000. That's $100,000 more than Tellico Village. But Signal Mountain doesn't need gates. It has something better: elevation. The town sits on top of the Cumberland Plateau, overlooking Chattanooga, literally above the city by 1,000 feet. The air is cooler up here. The atmosphere is clearer. The views stretch across the Tennessee River Valley for miles. Families move here for excellent schools and tight community. Kids ride bikes without parents hovering. Neighbors know each other's names. It feels like small-town America. If small-town America cost $785,000 to join and required you to drive up a mountain to get home. But here's why altitude matters more than you think. Tellico Village uses applications to separate people. Signal Mountain uses geography. Both create the same result, just different mechanisms. When you tell someone you live on Signal Mountain, you're not describing a location. You're describing a position, above. And the people living below know exactly what that means. Number 8. Mount Juliet. Mount Juliet costs roughly the same as Tellico Village. But nothing else is the same. Mount Juliet sits east of Nashville along Percy Priest Lake, and it's growing faster than almost anywhere in Tennessee. Wilson County, which contains Mount Juliet, is projected as the fastest-growing county in the state. Providence Marketplace anchors the area. It's the kind of town center developers draw on plans and residents actually use: shops, restaurants, a movie theater, Target, and enough daily infrastructure that you don't need to drive into Nashville unless you want to. And that distinction matters. Want to? Not have to. Families choose Mount Juliet because it works. The commute to downtown Nashville is manageable. Wilson County schools rank near the top in the state. Property taxes are low, genuinely low, not just lower than somewhere else. Crime rates stay down. Home values keep climbing. There's no gate, no country club membership, no unspoken dress code at the neighborhood pool. You just buy the house, move in, and get on with living. And for a lot of people making good money in stable industries, healthcare, finance, and education, that's exactly the point. Number 7. Farragut. Farragut consistently ranks among the best places to live in Tennessee, not because of proximity to anything, but because the distance from everything. Homes here average just under $800,000, but the price doesn't explain the appeal. The appeal is what you wake up to. Drive through Farragut, and the first thing you notice is the green. Not landscaped green, natural green. Trees that were here long before the neighborhoods. Hills that roll instead of flatten. Streets that curve to follow the land rather than cut through it. Everything feels like it was built around something that was already here and worth keeping. Top-rated schools. Fort Loudon and Tellico Lakes are within minutes. Golf communities like Fox Den have manicured courses and water views. This is lifestyle-first living. Boating on Tuesday afternoon isn't a vacation. It's what you do because there's nothing stopping you. Families move to Farragut for comfort and freedom. Not comfort or freedom. Both. So why does Knoxville's premier suburb cost $200,000 more than Nashville's fastest-growing city? Because Mount Juliet is selling access to Nashville. Farragut is selling the absence of need. Number 6. Nolensville. Nolensville has a median home price of around $770,000, almost the same as Farragut, but completely different energy. Drive through Nolensville and you'll see two versions of the same town existing simultaneously. First version, historic Main Street with preserved homes, local bakeries, coffee shops, and community events that feel genuinely communal. Second version, brand new subdivisions 5 minutes out, modern farmhouses, luxury builds, upscale developments that didn't exist 3 years ago. Award-winning schools, safe neighborhoods, strong sense of community that somehow survived the growth. Parks and youth sports define weekends. Family events bring people together. The town still feels personal, even as it expands. Nolensville is where families move when they want growth without chaos. But here's the question nobody's asking. If Farragut is finished building its identity and Nolensville is still building, why do they cost the same? Because buyers are making different bets. Farragut buyers are paying for certainty. They know exactly what they're getting, and it won't change. Nolensville buyers are paying for potential. They're betting the town maintains its character while their property values rise. Same price, different risk profiles. And the risk in Nolensville isn't whether it succeeds. It's whether success ruins what made it attractive. Because the next town already learned that lesson the hard way. Number 5. Franklin. Franklin has a median home price of around $1.1 million. That's almost double than Farragut and Nolensville. And Franklin has earned every dollar of that premium by perfecting something difficult, selling authenticity to people who can afford to buy it. Downtown Franklin looks like a movie set. Brick sidewalks, boutique shops, chef-driven restaurants, live music pouring from historic buildings. Preserved Civil War sites sit next to million-dollar homes. Horse-drawn carriages share roads with Teslas. The whole thing feels like Southern charm that somehow survived into the present. But drive 5 minutes outside downtown and the illusion cracks. Luxury subdivisions sprawl across former farmland. Gated communities multiply. Custom estates pop up on lots that were fields a decade ago. Franklin's Main Street is authentic. Franklin's growth is not. So why the 50% price jump? Because Franklin isn't selling homes. It's selling the story of living in Franklin. Think about what you're actually buying here. You're buying the right to say you live in Franklin. You're buying an association with charm, history, and Southern culture. You're buying a lifestyle that photographs well and sounds good in conversation. But here's the problem with commodifying authenticity. When enough people buy the story, it stops being true. Franklin's historic character is real, but Franklin's wealthy newcomers are performing that character. And you can't perform authenticity without destroying the thing you're trying to perform. So Franklin costs $1.1 million because it successfully packaged something genuine and sold it to people who want genuine experiences. The contradiction is the product, and the product is selling extremely well. Number 4. Brentwood. Brentwood has a median home price of around $1.64 million. This is where the performance stops. No charming downtown, no historic Main Street, no aesthetic being sold. Just quiet, serious, generational wealth. Drive through Brentwood and you'll notice what's missing. Chaos. No neon, no crowds, no tourism, just winding roads, manicured estates, and trees so dense you forget Nashville is 20 minutes away. Communities like the Governor's Club and Annandale don't advertise. They don't need to. The people who belong here already know about them. The people who don't belong here wouldn't recognize the names anyway. CEOs live in Brentwood. Pro athletes, music executives who don't perform, they own the people who do. But here's what separates Brentwood from everywhere else on this list. The schools. Brentwood sits in Williamson County, home to some of the highest rated public schools in the Southeast. And that's not a feature. That's the entire point. Think about what legacy planning actually means. You're not buying a house. You're buying your children's network. You're buying access to systems that compound advantage across generations. The kid whose parents bought in Brentwood doesn't just get good teachers. They get classmates whose parents run companies, manage portfolios, and make decisions that shape industries. That network follows them to college, then to their first job, then to their first board seat. Brentwood doesn't attract people who made money last year. It attracts people building dynasties that will outlast them. So why isn't Brentwood number one if it's where institutional power lives? Because there are two towns left that solved a problem Brentwood still has. Visibility. You can still see Brentwood's estates if you drive the right roads. You can still find the neighborhoods on Google Maps. You can still locate the houses. The next two towns on this list fix that completely. Number 3. Forest Hills. Forest Hills has a median home price of around $3.2 million. That's nearly double Brentwood. You cannot see any houses from the road. Not because they're set back, not because of landscaping, because the entire city was designed around one principle: disappear. Forest Hills is where serious wealth goes when visibility becomes a liability. Zoning laws make Forest Hills purely residential, not by preference, but as a protection. Every business generates traffic. Every visitor creates exposure. Every transaction produces data. Forest Hills eliminated all of it. Just rolling hills, gated driveways, and estates hidden so deep in trees that even neighbors don't see each other's homes. Residents live minutes from Percy and Edwin Warner parks, thousands of acres of hiking, golf, and green space. Top-tier private schools surround the area. Elite country clubs operate on invitation. This is where Nashville's old money lives, where executives retreat, where behind-the-scenes power players disappear after making decisions. People who don't need anyone to know where they live. So why does invisibility cost $3.2 million? Because every house that can be seen can be photographed. Every house that can be photographed can be discussed. Every house that can be discussed creates a narrative you don't control. Forest Hills doesn't advertise luxury. It protects it, and protection costs more than presentation ever will. But even Forest Hills has one weakness. People know it exists. Number 2. Oak Hill. Oak Hill has a median home price of around $2.8 million. Functionally identical to Forest Hills. Same area, same invisibility, same ultra-wealthy demographic. So why separate entries at the same price? Because Oak Hill and Forest Hills represent different philosophies about what wealth should buy. Forest Hills is about estates, homes designed to impress, even if nobody sees them. Architecture that signals status, even without an audience. Oak Hill is about land. Multi-acre wooded lots where the house is almost secondary to the property. Homes tucked so far back, you could walk past the driveway without noticing. The Tennessee governor's mansion sits here, but you'd never find it without directions. Oak Hill feels less like a neighborhood and more like a private nature reserve with residents scattered throughout. You're not buying a house, you're buying autonomy. Think about what that distinction means. Forest Hills residents want estate living, space, privacy, and luxury. Oak Hill residents want seclusion, separation, independence, and control. Both cost the same, both offer invisibility, but Forest Hills residents are hiding from the public. Oak Hill residents are hiding from everything, and understanding that difference is essential, because it reveals what the number 1 town on this list is actually selling. Number 1. Belle Meade. Belle Meade has a median home price of around $6 million. That's more than double the Forest Hills and Oak Hill. Almost 8 times more than Tellico Village. 7 times the price of Mount Juliet. And Belle Meade is worth every dollar of that premium because it offers something the other 9 towns cannot. Legacy. Not the house you leave your children. Not the money you pass down. The actual systems of power that perpetuate wealth across generations. Belle Meade is where Tennessee's oldest money lives. Not old as in elderly, old as in lineage. The Belle Meade plantation isn't a tourist attraction to these residents. It's the origin story. Horse culture, Southern aristocracy, families whose names appear in Tennessee history books. Homes sit on massive lots behind iron gates and tree-lined boulevards. Architecture ranges from classic Southern mansions to European-style estates. Everything is hidden, but in a different way than Forest Hills or Oak Hill. Those towns hide for privacy. Belle Meade hides for exclusivity. The Belle Meade Country Club doesn't just require money. It requires a membership process that's lengthy, challenging, and designed to filter people. The Wall Street Journal called it the hottest ticket in town among newly transplanted corporate executives and music entrepreneurs. Elite private schools surround Belle Meade. Harding Academy, Harpeth Hall, Montgomery Bell Academy, the Ensworth School. But these aren't just schools. They're sorting mechanisms. Your children don't just get educated alongside legacy families. They get absorbed into networks that will shape their entire lives. When those kids go to college, they don't just have good grades. They have recommendations from families whose names open doors. When they start careers, they don't just have degrees. They have relationships with people making hiring decisions. When they want to start companies, they don't just have business plans. They have investors who already trust them because of who their parents are. This is what $6 million buys in Belle Meade. Not real estate, social capital that compounds across lifetimes. 10 Tennessee towns. 10 different versions of what rich actually means. If you think your state has a better example of wealth hiding from itself, prove it in the comments. And if you want to see more breakdowns like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.